Until next time, I'm John Scott in New York. Have a great night and a safe one. We'll see you tomorrow.
The O'Reilly Factor is on tonight. Bad news for America. It looks like the Afghan power brokers are not cooperating in the hunt for Mullah Omar and other Taliban leaders. What should the USA do? We'll have a debate. The American Civil Liberties Union has always been a champion of freedom of speech. Why then are they crusading against the O'Reilly Factor? We'll find out. And is President Bush helping women? Caution. You're about to enter a no-spin zone. Factor begins in 90 seconds.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. The Pentagon says there's no evidence that enemy fire caused Wednesday's crash of a KC-130 plane in southwestern Pakistan. Steep, rocky terrain is making it hard for crews to recover the bodies of the 7 Marines on board. Meanwhile, an Air National Guard F-16 crashed on a training mission in New Jersey today. The pilot was able to be rescued by the Coast Guard. American Taliban fighter John Walker's fate is still uncertain. The 20-year-old Californian is the only prisoner left on a Marine ship in the Arabian Sea. The other al-Qaeda and Taliban detainees are heading to a new prison facility on Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The government is still deciding how to prosecute Walker's case. The campaign against terrorism is taking some U.S. troops to the Philippines. About 24 special forces are helping train Philippine soldiers to deal with Muslim rebels. The militants aligned with Osama bin Laden have held an American couple hostage for more than 7 months there. And fighting broke out in Belfast today, one day after the worst violence in Northern Ireland in months. It started with a fight between a Catholic and Protestant woman and wound up with youths from both sides throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at police and soldiers. That is our update. We'll be back again for you coming up at the bottom of the hour. I'm Kiran Chetri. The O'Reilly Factor is up next.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Well, a very disturbing report coming out of Afghanistan, and that's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. According to the New York Times, 7 high-ranking Taliban officials surrendered to a local warlord in Afghanistan, and he immediately set them free. One of those guys was the Taliban Minister of Justice, allegedly responsible for a variety of atrocities. Yet when asked about the situation, a U.S. Marine spokesman, Lieutenant James Jarvis, is quoted by the Times as saying, "We're not in the business of determining who should and who should not be in custody right now." What? What? If American forces are not supposed to round up Taliban and al-Qaeda terrorists, then why are we even over there? Are you telling me that some corrupt Afghan warlord is supposed to make decisions about who remains in custody? That's not why we're fighting this war, to empower brutal Afghan warlords. Let's keep our eye on the ball here. Terrorists attacked America and killed 3,000 people. The 2 main perpetrators of the atrocity, bin Laden and Mullah Omar, have avoided capture for 4 months. Now a Marine spokesman is saying the U.S. is not the last word on who becomes a prisoner of war? Something very, very wrong on the ground in Afghanistan. American air power destroyed the Taliban government, but now we seem to be pulling back and allowing war criminals to remain free. This has got to stop, obviously. Frankly, I don't care much about the Afghan government as long as it doesn't allow terrorists to operate. I realize that tribalism in Afghanistan will prevent any kind of cohesive government there, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. But the Bush administration must enforce war discipline and not allow corrupt Afghans to call the shots on the Taliban or anybody else. The warlord who released those Taliban captives should be publicly rebuked and punished. This is no time for the American war on terrorism to pull back. And the fact that Omar and bin Laden remain at large is embarrassing. The fact that 7 Taliban leaders were released without American approval is disgraceful. The U.S. command needs to toughen up and fast. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, another view of the issue. Joining us now from Washington is retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis. So, Colonel, what say you?
Well, Bill, you know, when you deal with proxies, you sort of have to put up with some things that you really don't like. Frankly, we aren't controlling things on the ground. Karzai is trying to assemble a central government with these warlords and through this tribalism and these customs that are rather foreign to the way of our thinking. And he's trying to do that in spite of having Taliban and al-Qaeda running all over the place. Yes, we should have the authority to bring them into custody, but I'm not at all surprised. After all, look what happened in Tora Bora and in Bagram. You had locals negotiating. They said, oh, we're going to get the surrender of the Taliban and al-Qaeda. Quite frankly, it bought them time to escape. You know, they're going to live there long after we're gone, and frankly, they're trying to piece together something that's going to work. It's not to our liking, and I'm very chagrined that we're losing out on valuable intelligence when you let the Minister of Justice go. You don't soak him for all you can get out of him.
Yeah, but it's worse than that. It's worse than that.
Well,
what we're doing now is we're not fighting this war. We're almost going to the Vietnam scenario. That's what we're doing, Colonel. And I don't care whether anybody is offended by that or not. What we're doing now is we're letting other forces who don't care about America dictate the tempo of the war. Now, this warlord, they know who this guy is. He was featured in the New York Times last week, all right, this Gurr. He let these guys go. We got to do something to this guy. See? If we don't, we send a message to the rest of the Afghan thugs. You can do whatever you want to us. You can spit in our eye. You can hide Omar. You can take bribes from the Taliban and al-Qaeda. And we're not going to do anything to you. Am I wrong?
Bill, you have a couple options. You can use economic leverage and say, look, you're not going to get all these bennies that we've been promising until we get the people that we know are out there and the people we think that you may have access to. Or secondly, we can put more troops in the ground and go after them ourselves. We've been unwilling to do that. We're buying
proxies. What about going after this guy, this warlord who let him go? What about punishing him?
Well, we ought to, and that's something that probably, I hope, behind the scenes we're working with Karzai and so forth. But keep in mind, Karzai spoke yesterday to his people. He promised a host of things, but since December 22nd, when he took command of that interim government, he's been dealing with the elders behind the scenes trying to cobble together something that's going to work.
Look, Colonel, that's fine. Let him try to cobble whatever he wants, all right? I don't care. What I care about is that you got a guy, Mullah Norwood, all right, who is the Minister of Justice from the Taliban. This is like number 4 war criminal. Number 4. I mean, this guy was cutting off people's hands. He was allowing the al-Qaeda people to do all kinds of... And they let him go? They let him go? And this is the same warlord, the same guy where Mullah Omar is allegedly hiding in his district. And I believe that this guy's taking bribes like crazy from Omar and the Taliban so that we can't get him. So now what we got to do is send in the Marines and teach this guy a lesson. Now, whether you hurt him physically or whether you pull him aside and keep him isolated for a week, which is what I do. I just isolate him for a week. Pull him in, question him or whatever. But send a message, Colonel.
Yeah, but Bill, we're seeing the diplomats taking charge of what's going on the ground and not the military. The military would do what you just outlined. Unfortunately, the diplomats are saying, look, we've got problems with Iran on the border. We've got problems. What's that?
Whose fault is that? Is that Powell? Is that Secretary of State Powell? See, there's got to be somebody telling the U.S. military when they make this outrageous statement. Did you believe the Marine spokesman said it's not up to us to... Did you believe that statement?
That lieutenant did not make that up, Bill. He was told exactly what to say.
Okay, but who's telling him? Who's telling him?
That sort of authority only comes down from the very top. So they made a diplomatic decision on how they were going to deal with that type of scenario, and I'm afraid we're going to see more of that in the future.
When you say they, though, is that the State Department or the Pentagon? Who is that?
Well, you know, Secretary Rumsfeld had to have seen...
All right, you think Rumsfeld is the guy, then?
Well, he is not the only person. Obviously, Powell has a lot to say, and the president ultimately has to have some say-so over what's going on the ground. This is a diplomatic transition, unfortunately, not a pretty picture for those of us concerned about military.
Don't you think it's embarrassing to the United States of America not to have captured Mullah Omar? Now, I understand bin Laden. It's a little bit different. But Omar is, you know, he's a nothing. He's in the country. He's in Afghanistan. He's being hidden by people who are being paid. We can't... Isn't that embarrassing?
Oh, I find it embarrassing, Bill. I find it embarrassing that we couldn't get the entire cabinet and all the other leaders over there. Unfortunately, like I say, I think the diplomats are taking charge of this. The military are taking a back seat, and we're doing a transition here that's not going to be in anybody's interest.
You bet. It's not going to be in anybody's interest, and most of all, the people who got killed in the terror attack and their families. And I don't want to see another Vietnam thing here. I'm just going to scream until things turn around. Thanks, Lieutenant. We appreciate it. Colonel, I should say. I don't want to diminish you in rank. Next on the rundown, the ACLU does not like the factor at all. In fact, they are telling people, the ACLU, not to appear on this broadcast. We'll find out why in a moment.
It seems like only yesterday when I started started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx for everyday victories.
The Accord V6 from Honda, designed to give the driver total control. At least that was the original idea.
In the Impact segment tonight, the American Civil Liberties Union has always prided itself on sticking up for freedom of speech. That organization has a long tradition in fighting for the right of Americans to be heard. But because of policy differences with the Factor, the ACLU is now actively telling people not to appear on this broadcast. In fact, the ACLU has ordered all of its chapters across the country, its local chapters, not to speak with us. Freedom of speech? Joining us now from Los Angeles is attorney Gloria Allred, who is a current member of the ACLU and makes her living speaking out on KABC radio. All right, Ms. Allred, this is indisputable. The spokesperson for the ACLU, Emily Whitfield, has got on the phone time and time again, told her people across the country, don't go on the O'Reilly Factor. It's outrageous. What do you think's going on here?
Well, Bill, first of all, let me make clear, of course, I'm not speaking on behalf of the ACLU. I'm a member, but I'm not a spokesperson for the organization. I did just call Ms. Whitfield prior to coming on to the show because I wanted to know if that, in fact, was true, if there was some sort of ban on coming on Fox News Channel or the O'Reilly Factor by the ACLU. And, in fact, she denied that there was such a ban.
She's lying. And, I mean, we have guys... Michael,
that's her point of view.
No, it's not our point of view. Well, I can cite... name after name after name. Attorney Michael Gross, we tried to get him on the Factor. He made a phone call, don't go on. The attorney representing the NAMBLA, and this is where it all came down, the NAMBLA thing. You know, in my book, The No Spin Zone, the first chapter is on the ACLU versus me over NAMBLA. They're representing the North American Man-Boy Love Association in a murder case, civil suit, up in Massachusetts, and quite frankly, kicked their butt. Because I say it's a criminal organization, and this court of the state of Ohio ruled in my favor. My argument was upheld by the state court there, and they got embarrassed, and that's how this whole thing started. So, look, what I'm saying to you is it seems to me that if the ACLU is going to be a champion of freedom of speech, that there shouldn't be any kind of ban. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, I would agree, and she indicates that there is no such ban. In fact, she indicates that the ACLU and its representatives have come on Fox News Channel about as often as they've come on other cable stations and other national television networks.
Why aren't they here today? We asked them to come on today, and they won't come on. Come on, this is Gloria, I'm not going to let you do this.
I can't tell you what their commitments were today, but I can tell you this, that they say they have appeared on the Factor in the past.
In the past,
that they would consider appearing on the Factor in the future. That the president of the ACLU, in fact, Nadine, just appeared on Fox News Channel as recently as last week with Rita Cosby. So there is no ban.
That's a big difference than going on the O'Reilly Factor and answering the tough question. Now, they have a new president. Executive Director Anthony Romero, we don't know him. Well, my question to you is, if somebody would go around and say, look, don't go on Gloria Allred's radio program because they disagree with you ideologically. You wouldn't be very happy about that, would you?
No, but I'd want to know whether in fact that was hearsay or whether in fact it was true.
Well, this, Gloria, let me tell you, this isn't hearsay, all right? I know my staff. I know the calls they put in, and I've spoken to the people. The lawyer, the ACLU lawyer defending the NAMBLA case, he came on, all right, and he told me, looked me in the eye and said, they told me not to come on, but I'm not that kind of guy. I'm going to come on and state my case. I'm not afraid. We respect him,
okay.
All right? So look,
yeah.
We have it, primary source, right to face. So don't give me any of this, well, it could have, might have. They're lying. They're not telling you the truth.
Don't know.
And I'm not surprised the ACLU is lying because it's done it before.
Well, I don't know what that particular situation involved. However, there are organizations who are sensitive about who comes on as a spokesperson for the organization, and every organization has a right to designate its spokesperson for the organization.
It's the ACLU. It's the Freedom of Speech organization. They've got branches all across the country. You're telling me that nobody can talk unless it gets funneled through a couple of stooges in D.C.? Come on.
I think they've got a lot of videotapes of ACLU representatives appearing on the Fox News channel and appearing on the O'Reilly Factor. I think they're going to come on in the future. I'm going to say this. I'm very proud of the ACLU.
Why?
I think that the work that they have done since September 11th is work to be very proud of.
All right, give me one example on that.
They have stood up for minorities that no one else would stand up for.
Give me one example of the work they've done since September 11th that we should be proud of as Americans. Give me one.
Well, for example, the issue that they raised about the attempt by the Attorney General of the United States, Ashcroft, to interfere with attorney-client privilege, the privilege of confidentiality, something unprecedented, something that goes to the Sixth Amendment right to have effective assistance of counsel.
Well, because they wanted to listen in on the
conversations between attorney and client, that's outrageous.
They wanted to listen on the jailhouse conversations, correct? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yes, and I think the ACLU raised that as an issue, and I'm very proud of them that they did, because
but they raised it as an issue
the American
for...
Bar Association is very concerned about that as well.
Now, but there's a little bit of a subtext here. The Attorney General was only speaking about non-citizens, not citizens of the United States. The ACLU wants to give non-citizens, okay, people in this country illegally sometimes, the same rights as we have. I'm not for that. If you're a non-citizen and you're suspected of terrorism here, I don't want you getting the same rights as me, Miss Allred. Am I wrong?
Well, if you believe in the Constitution, Bill, the Constitution does not distinguish between non-citizens
Sure
and citizens.
Sure it does. The Constitution was written for citizens of the United States.
Well, in terms of the right to effective assistance of counsel, and again, that interferes. It has a chilling effect on what a person may be willing to say to their counsel and disclose.
Yeah, non-citizens.
If in fact they think that the government is listening in on that conversation.
Are you going to tell me that all non-citizens in the world should have the same rights as Americans when they enter this country?
I'm saying as to the right to have confidentiality in a conversation with an attorney that is representing you, and not to have the government eavesdropping, listening in, and
even if you're from Afghanistan or even if you're from Albania.
Yeah, non-citizens have that right. I think it's an important right.
I don't believe they do have that right, Miss Allred. But look, that's why we like you, and that's why we used to like the ACLU, because you have your point of view, we have ours, and then the audience can make up their mind. This is what America's all about. Not the ACLU now, which I think is a wrecked organization, telling people, don't go on the O'Reilly Factor. You see, that's against freedom of speech and discourse. Thank you very much, Gloria, for coming on.
Thank you very much.
And next, as the Factor continues, President Bush and American women. Is he helping them? Both sides when we come back.
Situations call for trucks with more power. So engineer Mark Verone and the team have made GMC Sierras the most powerful line of pickups in the world. And to help manage all that torque, they've also given Sierra technically advanced braking systems. Mark may be obsessed with power, but he's not crazy. From professional-grade people come professional-grade trucks.
What's the matter, Bob? All this paperwork from my mortgage broker is driving me crazy.
Perhaps you should log on to Ditech.com.
Hey, I need a home loan, not a website.
Ditech.com is one of the largest direct lenders in the mortgage industry.
What about the rates?
Here's today's low fixed rate with 0 points.
Oh. Can I use the mouse?
Be my guest. mytech.com. The smart money solution. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Remember the Queen of Hearts? Well, she recently fell in love thanks to the MatchLink Singles Network. Yes, she found her perfect match without having to browse through hundreds of ads. Now they do everything together. Sledding in the park, cuddling by a warm, cozy fire. They even went on a romantic vacation together. Yes, another happy ending. And your love life can have one too. The MatchLink Singles Network. It's safe, confidential, and enrollment is free.
I'm Leif Hansen. If you've been in an accident, you know what a hassle it is. That's where we come in. With Leif's, everything becomes very simple. From Salem to Longview, we make house calls. We'll give you an estimate, pick up your car, negotiate your claim, repair your vehicle back to pre-loss condition, and get it back to you, all without costing you extra. You've got my word on it.
Leif's Auto Collision Centers, finest in collision repair.
In the personal story segment tonight, the Bush administration and American women. In November of 2000, President Bush got 43% of the female vote. And the question is, are his policies benefiting women? Joining us now from Washington are Dr. Christine Stolba, Senior Fellow at the Independent Women's Forum and author of the book, The Feminist Dilemma, When Success is Not Enough. And Patricia Ireland, the former president of the National Organization for Women, who's now with the law firm Katz and Cutter. Now, Doctor, the Bush administration, the president himself, has dismantled the White House Office for Women's Initiatives and Outreach, a touchy-feely organization that was founded by President Clinton to be a liaison between women's groups and the White House. Now, I'm making fun of it, but it seems to me that, you know, White House Office for Women's Initiatives and Outreach, you know, why would he dismantle that?
Well, I think that the dismantling of that office and some of the other initiatives in the Department of Labor, for example, it certainly is an evidence of a conspiracy on the part of the Bush administration to thwart women's progress. In fact, it's clear recognition of women's progress. What the Bush administration is recognizing and what the facts clearly show is that American women don't need these special initiatives, many of which, as you noted, were set up during the Clinton administration in a clear effort to pander to feminist groups at a time when Clinton himself very much wanted their silence about his own women's initiatives, so to speak.
Yeah, but isn't it better for women in America to have an office in the White House where you can call up and say, you know, I got a problem here, being discriminated against, or something's going wrong, rather than not have one?
No, I disagree. I think the idea should be equal opportunity for all Americans, male or female. And there is a liaison office, which I personally have had dealings with, that's very open to women's groups.
What's the name of that office? Because they dismantled this office. What's
the White House Liaisons Office? It's an office that's always been around in the White House, and they deal with all kinds of groups, not just women's groups. But
what do you
do
think, Ms. Ireland?
Well, I think that that's elevating form over substance. The administration did say when they closed the women's office that they would deal with those issues within the Office of Public Liaison. And indeed, they have hired a staff person who deals with women's outreach. And on the other hand, when this proposal came up from the White House Office of Management and Budget to close the 10 regional offices of the Women's Bureau and the Labor Department, the head of the Public Liaison Office had to hear it first from a reporter from the Boston Globe. She said she was really, really surprised. That's a little bit of an embarrassment.
Yeah, but they're doing that because of the budget, and you know how much waste there is at the federal level. They want to tighten everything up. Let's talk about President Bush himself. Looked at his record. I mean, obviously he's preoccupied by the war. Doesn't seem like there's any oppression of women going on, Ms. Ireland, is there?
Well, I think that oppression is the kind of word that we might use about what was happening to the women in Afghanistan under the Taliban. I do think that we've made progress, but I don't think that progress is the same thing as equality. And when you look, for instance, at the budget proposal, and we'll see in February whether it's adopted by the president or not, why would the administration want to take these regional offices of the Women's Bureau, which have initiatives, local initiatives in all 50 states, and turn it into yet another Washington bureaucracy?
To save money.
Pull everything back
to save money. It's simple as that. To save money.
Yes, but it is also the only federal agency that's mandated to work with the states, to work with local
Is that your only complaint then, the offices being closed down? You got anything else?
Oh, no, I think that when we're talking about a war going on and we're not renewing the charter of the Advisory Committee on Women Veterans, or we're not appointing the members to the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Services, when we've got a wage gap
What about
widening.
Condoleezza Rice? I mean, she's the most powerful advisor Bush has. I mean,
That's wonderful, and still he has a fewer number of women in senior positions actually than the last administration.
Well, no, but he's got them in. He's got a whole bunch of them. I could read them up, but I won't.
Oh, he's got.
Doctor,
yes, he's got.
Do you disagree with Ms. Ireland on this?
I do disagree. I think that the one thing that the Bush administration has done, which is he should very much be applauded for, is he's refused to play gender politics with feminist groups, and that obviously upsets feminist groups. But I think it's in the long term better for mainstream women and men not to have to engage in what are often for taxpayers wasteful expenditures of money on misguided ideological crusades.
All right,
the Women's Bureau has been around since 1920. It wasn't an administration of an invention of the Clinton administration. It's been around for a long time, and it deals with equal pay, women-friendly and family-friendly workplace issues, deals with health issues, child care, all the things that enable women in a time of unemployment, in a time of a slowed economy, to be able to help support our families.
But listen,
well, he's not going to abolish the Women's Bureau.
I'm for a smaller federal government because I think the federal government screws up most of the stuff they do anyway. It's nice to have it on paper, but they don't really do anything, these offices. They just take the calls and this and that. But look, Karen Hughes, probably the most powerful advisor that President Bush has, maybe not in a time of war, but, and then you got Rice, we mentioned, you got Elaine Chao, the Labor Secretary, you got Gail Norton, who's conservative, but, you know, still a woman and powerful woman. It looks to me, Miss Ireland, like, you know, it's at least equal to what President Clinton did.
Well, it's not at the senior level. There are far fewer women. But let me also say that on this Women's Bureau issue, even the deputy administration, the deputy director of the Women's Bureau from the George Bush I's administration says that these are very valuable offices. She says they are the most valuable aspect of the Women's Bureau.
All I know, I don't know the offices, but all I know is we're paying so much tax. We got to streamline the government. Doctor, I'm going to give you the last word on it. You think that Bush has got an A in women's rights or women's interests?
Absolutely, because he's upholding the principle of equal opportunity for men and women, and that's the goal of our Constitution and our society.
Thanks, Doctor. Thank you, Ms. Ireland, as always.
Always good to see you.
Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Justice Department now says it will investigate Enron, but John Ashcroft is bailing out. Big news in a moment.
2 hours of hard riding, and I was hurting, so I took control with Advil. Doctors know that nothing, not Tylenol, not Aleve, nothing's proven stronger or last longer than Advil. Hey, the pain was strong, but Advil's stronger.
You have the strength to get rid of pain. Take control. Take Advil.
Before the dentist begins his work, he rubs a pain reliever on first. It's the same strength pain reliever you can get in Maximum Strength Anbesol. Dentist strong, so the pain is gone.
Is this all you're using your computer for? Hi, I'm John Scherer, CEO and founder of Video Professor. I want to help you get more out of your computer with my free computer learning CDs. For instance, I'll get you started on computers with my Learning Windows CD. My Internet CD will show you how to surf the web and send and receive email. Use my Word CD to create great-looking documents. Or try my Quicken tutorial to put your finances in order. So if you call now, I'll send you one free. You just pay a small shipping and handling. Now, the reason I'll do this is because I know that once you try my product, you'll come back to us for all your computer learning needs. You know, if you can't learn, I'll even refund your shipping and handling. So if you want to get more out of your computer than just playing games, this is the best computer learning you'll ever find. It's free. Try my product.
To get your free computer learning CD, you must call now. Call 1-800-409-2614.
Foxwire with Rita Cosby, hard-edge investigative reporting, timely and compelling interviews, breaking news from the war on terror, live as it happens. This weekend, watch the best news coverage on television, period. Foxwire with Rita Cosby, your world up close in focus. Tonight, the Greek Prime Minister meets with President Bush to offer his take on the events of 9/11. Tonight on Special Report with Britt Hume.
In the Factor follow-up segment tonight, as you may know, we have been pounding the Justice Department to begin an investigation of the Enron Corporation. Well, now Attorney General Ashcroft has announced that the investigation will take place, but he won't be a part of it because of his relationship with Enron. Whoa! Apparently, they gave a lot of money to Ashcroft when he was running for various offices. With us now is Dan Ackman, an attorney and staff writer at Forbes.com. In addition, today we learned, Mr. Ackman, that Arthur Anderson, the accountants for Enron, have destroyed documents This has got to be a fast-track investigation. This can't be a Janet Reno, yeah, we're looking into it, and then 5 years later, no commenting. We got to get to the bottom of this fast, right?
Well, what they did today was they announced that they would have a task force joining various U.S. attorneys' offices. That should speed things up. But down the road, it's also quite possible that there will be a call for a special prosecutor, because although Ashcroft has recused himself, the entire administration has ties to Enron, and there might be a call for getting someone in who's truly independent. And
is that what you favor?
I don't know if I favor that. I would give the Justice Department a shot first.
But it's got to be a fast-track shot. You see, the game that they're playing in Washington, and they've played now for the past 10 years, is we'll investigate, but we won't do anything.
Well, of course, the prosecutors would probably like it to happen fast. The question is, how much can the defense lawyers slow them down? And that's what will happen. That's what they'll typically try to do. And then they have the congressional investigations, which will probably be sidetracked because of the criminal prosecution.
I hope so, because the congressional investigations are bupkis. I mean, they really are. That's just grandstanding. We don't need those guys. We need the FBI to go in there and find out which executives in Enron lied,
right,
which made a fortune selling when they knew the company was collapsing and wouldn't let their own employees sell, so that they lost all their 401ks, and who hoodwinked regular people like you and me when we looked in and saw, oh, Arthur Andersen say, company's very good, future's very bright, and now Arthur Andersen has destroyed documents. They've got to be investigated as well, correct?
Well, they will be investigated. It's very unusual for the accountants to be criminally indicted. Certainly they will face...
You destroy documents?
Well, I don't know exactly what they destroyed. If they did do that and not knowingly destroyed evidence in the criminal investigation, then they can be indicted. But more likely is they will face civil penalties or civil judgments. And the executives in Enron, I think it's quite likely they will face criminal indictments and quite possibly jail terms.
All right. Now, you say that, and I hope that's true.
Right.
But it hasn't been the track record of the Justice Department of the United States in the past 10 years to go after the powerful. It just hasn't been the track record on any level.
Well, they've done it on occasion. They went after Michael Milken. He went to jail. Lubowski went to jail.
But that was way further than 10 years ago.
Okay.
I'm talking since President Clinton walked in the door to now.
Just a week or so ago, Alfred Taubman will go to jail. He was a powerful guy. He was almost a billionaire at one time. So I don't know if you can say that they never do. Obviously, very rich people go to jail less often than very poor people, but there's also a lot fewer of them. So
ideologues are making it seem like Enron's being protected because they have very strong Republican ties, gave a lot of money to not only Ashcroft, but Mr. Bush, Cheney, all of those guys. Do you believe that?
I don't know if they were protected. I think what happened was that no one was really looking very hard. And I think it's really more the fault not of the government, but of Wall Street, which really gave Enron a free ride. And even a week before...
But how do they... Look, I look back. We had this discussion with Terry Keenan. I know what you're saying. Merrill Lynch, Bear Stearns, all of them, buy. It's good. But when you look at the information that they were putting out, they were saying everything's great.
Well, they were saying everything is great, but what they didn't really ever do is explain how things were great.
No, that's true.
They were going very fast, but no one knew how they were getting there or where they were going, really.
Did you know that Enron execs were insider selling? Did you know?
Well, everyone knew that they were selling. I mean, it's not...
we didn't know till months after they actually sold, right?
No, I think they have to file the forms that they're selling fairly contemporaneously. But what we didn't know was what they knew when they were selling. So it's not insider selling or insider trading in the criminal sense unless they knew something that other people didn't know when they were selling.
Why would they sell? You know, why would they sell and make millions and then tell everybody it's going to go rocket?
Believe me, I think there's likely something was real fishy, well, more than fishy was going on. But why? I mean, people sell stock for all kinds of reasons all the time. So just the mere fact of selling.
So your prediction is criminal indictments for some of these Enron execs?
I think so. I think it's likely that Fasto will probably turn and...
All right. Mr. Ackman, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Come back. The most controversial of the story of the evening, Joe Clark.
Fox News Live, I'm Kiran Chetri. Hundreds of Taliban members have been captured by U.S. and alliance forces, but the hunt for remaining fighters still continues. Fox's Amy Kellogg has the latest for us.
U.S. officials are not too pleased about the fact that those 7 Taliban officials who surrendered recently were allowed to walk in Kandahar. The U.S. is putting its faith now in the new government of Hamid Karzai to follow up on this case. This as U.S. troops continue to hunt al-Qaeda holdouts in eastern Afghanistan. American warplanes have pounded the Zawar-Kili cave complex for the 5th straight day. It is much faster than they originally thought. Nearly 3 miles by 3 miles, a series of enforced caves spread out along the mountains. This is the area where they are finding the biggest pockets of resistance. And here in the capital, Kabul, police began reinforcing Wednesday's edict to get all armed Afghan men off the streets of the city within 3 days. Either that or they face jail time. The only armed men who will be allowed on the streets are uniformed police and the peacekeepers. Police on Thursday delivered notices to any Northern Alliance troops in the city to pack up their guns and head back to their barracks. In Kabul, Afghanistan, Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
And one of the Taliban officials allowed to walk was the man who launched the religious police responsible for persecuting Afghani women. Our next update is coming up at the top of the hour.
Want to rearrange the living room? Dust behind that chest? How about move that king-size bed? Better get some moving men. No, not those moving men. These moving men. Introducing the moving men. The furniture sliders that make moving even the largest furniture child's play. Just slip a moving man under each leg, and even the heaviest piece slides along effortlessly. Each moving man is made of a highly polished polymer and fitted with a special grip pad for the legs to rest on. Even this loaded bookcase practically floats along. These men can hardly budge this armoire, yet this 90-pound woman can slide it clear across the room. We placed this wooden freight skid on 4 moving men with these heavy cinder blocks. It slides along like magic. This couple rearranged their living room in just a few minutes. They even used it to move that big screen TV. And now you don't have to bother your friends just to clean behind the bed. Sliding furniture without the moving men can bunch up and even damage expensive carpeting. The moving men are guaranteed. If they're not the best helpers you've ever had, send them back for a full refund. You get a set of 4 moving men for just $19.99. And if you call right now, we'll double your order. That's 8 moving men for less than $10 a set. But that's not all. We'll also include 8 mini movers. Put them under the washer and dryer, or anything you frequently move for cleaning. Watch. Here's one more incredible demo. It could take you hours to move your entertainment system. But why take it apart when you can move it all at once? Order now and get it all. That's 8 jumbo moving men and the 8 mini movers for just $19.99. So stop straining your back and let the moving men professionally move that heavy furniture. Call now.
To order the amazing moving men for only $19.99 plus shipping, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-842-0463 or send check or money order to the address on your screen. Call now.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the second personal story segment tonight, educator Joe Clark. He became famous after the movie Lean on Me came out, chronicling Mr. Clark's tough policies as a principal of a New Jersey high school. Ultimately, he was pushed out of that job because the school board there felt his methods were too strict. Mr. Clark then took a job at a New Jersey juvenile detention center, which was a mess. He cleaned it up, but once again, his methods have been criticized, and he's leaving that situation. He joins us now. So it's the same old thing with you. There's a percentage of people involved in education or the juvenile detention center that just says you're just too tough on these guys. You bat them around, you chain them, you put them in solitary confinement. It's always the same drum, right?
Absolutely. And I am absolutely incensed, especially in New Jersey with the juvenile justice system, that they, in essence, are encouraging a type of domestic terrorism in our cities that's going to lead to utter pandemonium by simply telling young people, do whatever you want to do. You can murder, you can carjack, you can rape, you can rob, you can pillage, you can sell drugs on street corners, and there's very little you can do about it.
Let's talk about your detention center. The ages of the kids there were what?
Primarily 14 through, we have them as old as 20.
All right, 14 to 20, males mostly, right?
Primarily.
Okay. And these kids were in there for a variety of problems, correct?
Correct.
Were they all thrown in together, the violent ones with the non-violent ones?
Yes, they're all put together.
Isn't that insane?
That needs to be looked at.
You know, if you've got a violent sociopathic teenager with a petty thief, I mean, that, you know.
And I think that this is the essence of the problem. My concern is that we put individuals in who could be salvaged with the hardcore, defiant, contumacious individuals that contaminate them by encouraging them to become gang members.
What percentage of kids that you saw in the detention center were, you couldn't save them? They were too damaged. You knew that they were going to be in the system and corrupting other people for the rest of their lives. What percentage?
I would say around 50%.
Really? 50%? 1 out of every 2 that came through.
I would say that emphatically, that 50% of the incarcerated youth are headed for a rendezvous with continued
And even you
prison.
couldn't save them, or psychology couldn't save them, or understanding couldn't save them, any love, anything
I
like
feel sincerely that if I were not manacled and fettered by a bunch of regal-minded, condescending, bureaucratic louts, I could bring about that transmogrification in the lives of these individuals because they want a larger percentage than 50%.
All right, so you could save some of them.
Yes.
But there are some kids that are so damaged by the time they get to you, that's it. You just can't save them.
It would be, I would be hard-pressed to say that I could.
All right, now what do you do with those kids? Because they are in detention centers, public schools, on the street corner, running around, and I put the percentage at 20%. Hardcore, because of whatever it is, they didn't have parents, or they got beaten up when they were a kid, or they were drug addicted when they were born, whatever it is. These kids are going to cause trouble, no matter what you do. What do you do with them?
They need to be taken out of that environment and put into a situation, an environment that will help transmogrify them through social service, through psychological assistance, through education, through mentoring, through volunteering.
You've got to isolate them.
They must be isolated. There's no way that you can put these defiant, hardcore individuals in with individuals who can be changed, whose behavioral patterns could be altered.
Now, you're criticized because some of the people who don't like you say you try to break them. You try to break them by manacling them to a bed, by not letting them out of their cell, by roughing them up, by using, torture techniques. Is that true?
Well, that's fallacious. In fact, you would never hear that coming from the detainees who are in the facility. You hear that coming from individuals who have no cognizance whatsoever of what young people want and desire relative to their own existence.
Are you telling me, Mr. Clark, that none of those kids in the detention center hated your guts?
I can state this to you, that those kids revered me, they loved me, and they looked at me as a father.
Even the ones that were throwing feces at your guards and all of that?
They had total respect for me because I was a no-nonsense principal, principal and a director of the facility. If you do this, these are going to be the sanctions. And I'm not going to play games with you, because to do that would make you privy to a life of continued criminality, and I love you too much to permit that to happen.
But how brutal do you have to get to these kids? I mean, the allegations were that you were keeping them in solitary confinement, really hurting them physically.
They've never been hurt physically.
But that solitary confinement is hurt.
I simply say that in the inner city, you can't say time out. They'll give you a sick out. You have to let them know with great fervor and zeal that I care about you and I love you, but I'm not going to let you do things that are deleterious to you yourself.
Well, you got to control the facility too, right?
Absolutely, because you cannot have the inmates controlling the jail.
Right. Now, is the root of this problem illegitimacy? The fact that in the black community in the United States, 70% of all babies are born out of wedlock, is that the root of the problem here?
I am chagrined to say that this is a major issue that exists in the black community. Misbegotten children, many of them become your drug dealers, your criminals, and many of them end up in jail or in the cemetery.
Why don't we hear then the black leadership, the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons, even the more moderate Julian Bonds, talk about this issue and bring it out so that there's peer pressure not to have children out of wedlock?
Well, I don't know how Jesse Jackson can talk about it, because he is responsible for bringing illegitimate, at least one child, into this society.
But you know what I'm talking about. You don't hear on the part of the black leadership in this country a condemnation of having children out of wedlock?
I feel sincerely that many of the black leaders, so-called black leaders, are nothing but a bunch of little pusillanimous dastards who are afraid to confront the issues and bring about the resurrection in the black community that's going to be necessary if we are to survive and become a productive people.
Would the black community in the inner city be offended to hear that message?
Absolutely not.
You don't think so?
I think that the black community welcomes honesty. Blacks in the inner city and black people generally are the most conservative people I know. But they are controlled by a bunch of meandering individuals who, for self-aggrandizing reasons, hide the truth from them.
And the truth is what?
The truth is that we must be responsible as a group of people, as an ethnic group, as a racial group, for our own destiny, and stop making excuses for abhorrent behavior within the confines of our community. Right. That must stop.
What are you going to do now?
Well, I'm going to find another mountain to climb. I want to be that puissant galvanizing force, reproaching, reproving, trying to bring about change.
So you're going to get another job someplace?
I'll find another job somewhere.
Right. Mr. Clark, you're certainly a unique individual, and we admire your outspokenness. Thank you very much for coming in here.
Thank you.
All right. Next, the state of Florida takes the parent of a 7-year-old to court because he's too fat. We'll tell you what happened in just a moment.
David Lee Miller. Great compound.
Amy Kellogg.
William Largeness. Pete Harrigan. Fox News. International.
It's kind of like your plumbing medics. You got an overflow problem? You need us out there now. Rescue Rooter. It's a plumbing emergency, and we're the rescue operation. Rescue Rooter. We're on the way. I like to practice. Timing's important. Get there in under 60 minutes. That's our goal. Get in, get wet, get out. Seen some bad things. Rescue Rooter. We don't charge extra on weekends. Rescue Rooter. We take pride in helping people. That's what it's all about.
He was a funny-looking little guy. It was like nothing I ever saw. With these big eyes.
Well, I never saw anything like it.
You know what? This is stuff you only hear about. He did communicate with me.
These days, the most amazing thing in the world is when a company and its people actually do what they promise. Amica Insurance. Auto, home, life, integrity. Rated #1 by consumers.
Were you able to understand him? Yes.
Hi, I'm Rick from Empire Glass. Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield and will now pay up to $100 of your comprehensive insurance deductible. And will now give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's, the Northwest's #1 family restaurant and bakery, with any windshield replacement. So for the highest in quality windshields, including up to $100 off your comprehensive deductible and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 251-9881. When you think glass, think Empire.
AT&T Broadband keeps you connected with programming, offers, and more. Look what we're bringing you this month.
Experience the E! True Hollywood Story Bon Voyage Sweepstakes, and you could be sailing to an exotic destination. Enter to win a 7-night cruise, complete with round-trip airfare, spending money, and more. To enter, send a 3x5 postcard to the address below. The E! True Hollywood Story Bon Voyage Sweepstakes, sponsored by E! Entertainment Television and AT&T Broadband.
AT&T Broadband. We're keeping you connected.
In the back of the book segment tonight, 8-year-old Taylor Bibian is in first grade in Lakeland, Florida, and Taylor is a big boy weighing 156 pounds in first grade. That's so big that the state of Florida tried to take control of the little boy's diet. The action was a result of a custody fight between Taylor's parents. Joining us now from Tampa is the lawyer for Taylor's father, who does have custody of the boy, Mike Farrell. All right, I was thinking about this, you know, and on the surface, it's kind of outrageous for the state of Florida to dictate to a parent how to feed his kid. Right. But look at it this way, Counselor. If you saw a little boy, a 7-year-old, with bruises all over him, and the teacher would be compelled to call the state and say, look, I think there's child abuse here. 156-pound first grader. I want to show another picture of the boy right now. 156 pounds, first grader. This might be considered child abuse, maybe? No?
No, not especially not in this case. His father, Tony, is a big guy also, and if you saw pictures of them at the identical age, you'd be hard-pressed to tell them apart.
Yeah, but this kid has trouble walking. You know, we're looking at him now. He's huge. For a first grader, 156 pounds. I mean, this isn't healthy. You know that.
Well, they've said that. They've said he has trouble walking, but you should see the kid in Taekwondo. I mean, he works out 4 times a week, has been doing that since February of last year. It's really amazing.
I don't know the child, obviously. He might be in great health, and he might be a super athlete. But what I'm saying to you is, there are warning signs in every little child's life, and this little kid has a troubled parental situation. Parents fight. His father's a truck driver on the road. He lives with his grandparents. And does the state not have a responsibility to say, boy, 156 pounds in the first grade, we got to take a look at that? Or should the state just stay out of it?
Well, the state should absolutely stay out of it. If it was connected to some other kind of obvious medical problem, suppose he was having sleep apnea, heart problems, hypertension. He had none of that. He was perfectly healthy.
Why is the kid so big?
Well, nobody could really give any good explanation.
Well, come on, you're an attorney for his father. I mean, is he overeat? Is they giving him Twinkies every 2 minutes? What's the deal?
No, I think it's purely genetic.
Yeah, but he's way overweight. I mean, what is he eating? Do you know what his diet is?
Well, the diet that was testified to from his grandparents, Darlene and Charlie, they feed him low-fat diet. He eats the typical Polk County School Board diet, which is a low-fat diet. It appears to be nothing other than genetic. I don't think it's overeating or overfeeding.
Now, the state ruling was that he would be monitored by the state, but no direct action would be taken, correct?
Well, they were seeking to have it monitored, but they were denied that ability.
All right, but there's still the DCA, right? Is that what they call in Florida?
DCF.
DCS. They're still watching the child, right?
Well, it's a situation that's not formal, but we believe it is informally going on, yes.
All right. Now, the mother who, does she want the child back? Is she seeking custody of the child back?
Not at this point in time.
Oh, she's not?
Right.
But she testified that she was very concerned about the kid's weight.
Right, which is interesting given the fact that she agreed to let the father have custody in the year 2001, when Taylor was obviously large then.
Okay. Do you believe that there's some acrimony here, or why would she not be supportive of the father if she wanted the father to have custody?
Well, it's become about a 180-degree turnaround since the issue came up and went to court, actually. She really has changed her posture since the DCF pushed it to court.
No, you believe that the DCS has coerced her?
I'm not necessarily going to say coerced her, but has definitely probably influenced her to change her tune a little.
All right. Now, is there anything going on? Because you know how it is with kids. Kid's 7 years old, he's 156 pounds. Every kid's going to make fun of him. Unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in. Is there anything now underway that's going to control his weight or, get it down so that he's not the object of derision his whole childhood? I feel very bad for this kid, don't you? His parents are fractured. He's living with his grandparents. He's huge. You know he's getting teased. I mean, boy.
We got to keep in mind he's coming out of a very difficult situation living with his mother. When he was removed, he was removed from a bad situation. And he's going through dealing with the transition to a more stable life. And we say that Tony's a truck driver, but Tony's in Taylor's life, so he's got that type of stability that's building at this point. He's also 4'7". He's going to be a tall kid, so to control it, what the Bibians are doing is they're going to keep him in his exercise program. Heck, he does more than I do in a week, that's for sure. And he is seeing a pediatrician who is going to monitor his weight.
Is that pediatrician paid for by the state?
No, absolutely not. This is
a private pediatrician?
Right.
Okay. All right, Counselor. It's a very disturbing situation, and we appreciate you telling us about it. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. We all wish the best for the young boy.
Thank you.
Next, we'll wrap things up. The most ridiculous item of the day is from email.
For our New Year's resolution, we promise to keep Ally McBeal's love life simple and uncomplicated.
Thank you.
We lied. John Bon Jovi joins the cast of Ally McBeal. Fox Monday.
If this is what you sometimes call breakfast, remember one thing. You are what you eat. So next time, try something good. Nutri-Grain. With whole grain oats, real fruit, and calcium. Nutri-Grain. Respect yourself in the morning.
Like every Subaru, the Forester comes with all-wheel drive standard. The Ford Escape doesn't. The Forester comes with ABS standard. The Escape doesn't. And in independent crash tests, the Forester received the highest rating. The Escape was rated simply marginal. Nice car.
What do I look like? A dummy?
Subaru Forester, a smarter way to build an SUV.
Now you can get an APR as low as 2.9% on all 2002 Forester models.
I am American.
I am an American.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am America.
I'm an American.
I am American.
I am an American.
Tonight, the Greek Prime Minister meets with President Bush to offer his take on the events of 9/11. Tonight on Special Report with Britt Hume. This weekend at 9 p.m., building military muscle has left our war chest very lean. Will it all work out? We investigate. Then at 10 p.m. on Foxwire, gathering intelligence. Should we share what we've learned? Plus, Pakistan and India. Could diffusing this political powder keg blow up in our face? This weekend, stay with the Fox News channel.
Time now for the most ridiculous item of the day, which is really a thank you very much. Over the Christmas buying season, the No Spin Zone book dominated sales across the United States. Nearly 1 million books are in print after just 3 months. So to all of you who gave the book as a present, I hope it was well received and they didn't bounce it off your head coming back at you. And I am very, very grateful. Thank you very much. And finally tonight, the mail. Each correspondent this evening will receive a signed copy of the No Spin Zone. Jude Cox, Blowing Rock, North Carolina. Bill, you've lost it. You are going soft on liberals. Fox hires Geraldo and Greta Van Susteren. Why should I watch you now? Well, because we're fair and balanced, Ms. Cox, but it sounds to me as if you just want to hear a conservative presentation. James Collins, Jupiter, Florida. Bill, what happened to that famous O'Reilly backbone during the interview with Cornel West? At least you could have gotten into his face about the nonsensical idea of black studies. Although I disagree with Dr. West about reparations and white guilt and a few other things, I do respect his opinions, Mr. Collins, and I see nothing wrong with black studies as long as other courses are included in the curriculum. John Easton, Columbus, Ohio. Mr. O, when West denied your question about quotas, you let him off the hook. What do you think forced diversity is? I asked Dr. West flat out if he would impose quotas on blacks being admitted to Harvard. He said no. What else do you want, Mr. Easton? Dr. West answered the question. Tim Shanahan, Houston, Texas. O'Reilly, I sincerely hate to admit that I almost turned off Cornel West, but he shocked me out of my stereotypical white guy waiting to get miffed attitude. He was extremely reasonable. Aaron Crosby, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Before I saw that interview, I thought Cornel West was just like Jesse Jackson. I was wrong. Jessica Mantifull, Richardson, Texas. Mr. O'Reilly, Dr. West got one by you. When you asked him if he was a hard grader, he described how much work he gives out. I'm a student at Southwestern University, and I know that sometimes professors who pile on the work are the easiest graders. Very good, Jessica. Dr. West did get that one by me. I hope you're going into journalism. Melissa Lynn Askew, Hillsborough, Alabama. Bill, you're wrong about Paula Zahn. Women love to be thought of as sexy, but not when it comes to our careers. Jan Groth, Santenta, Kansas. Nobody said a word when Arthur Kent was labeled the Scud Stud. Paula Camacho, Farmingdale, New York. Sorry, Paula. Whether Paula Zahn is sexy or not, labeling her as such is unprofessional and demeaning. Kim Ring, Palmer, Massachusetts. We women spend a lot of time trying to look sexy. Then we get mad when somebody points that out. No wonder men can't understand us. Kathy Brush, Marion, Illinois. O'Reilly, it is obvious you know absolutely nothing about the female perspective. Amy Riley, Garfield, New Jersey. Mr. O, I agree with you that the whole flap over the Zahn ads is ridiculous. However, I am worried that if this keeps up, we may see Andy Rooney doing a promo for CBS with his shirt off. Well, that would be the end of civilization as we know it, Amy. And Amy Villafane, New York City. Bill, the reason why I watch The Factor is because you're so sexy. I'll take that all day long, Amy. Thank you very much. And there's plenty of sexy stuff on the website. Beginning with my brand new column for WorldNetDaily.com, which is the behind the scenes of the Paula Zahn situation. You know, it was a kind of tough column to write because I know her, but I got to tell the truth. So you want the behind the scenes on that deal? Punch up our website. You get that column from worldnetdaily.com. All right? Also factor here, sign books, blah, 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 blah. How about emailing us with some pithy comments? O'Reilly at foxnews.com. O'Reilly at foxnews.com. Now, all over the world, ready? Name in town, name in town, name in town, if you wish to opine. That is it for us today. As always, we thank you for watching The Factor. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Hope to see you again next time.